Hello and welcome to your Steeler Nation Vidcast, part of the Big Play Vidcast Network and sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises. I'm your host, G.Stryker, and today I'm not as excited as I usually am. Obviously, I'm still trying to grasp what happened this past weekend with the loss of Dwayne Haskins. I know a lot of us in Steeler Nation as well are dealing with the fact that Dwayne Haskins is no longer part of the team. He's not going to be back competing in training camp when it looked like he was poised to at least compete for, if not the starting spot, the number one backup spot. And the amount of maturity that the city of Pittsburgh was able to lend to him getting out of that toxic environment that was Washington, where they were split when they drafted him. Coach didn't want him. Front office wanted him. Coach got fired midseason. Second coach that played him got fired after the season for a third coach, which was Rivera. Played for Rivera for a year, but Rivera didn't go 100% into him either. And his off-field problems, didn't care about being part of a team that didn't care about him. And that was understandable. So got to come to Pittsburgh on that clean slate. Coach Tomlin, the Rooney family, welcomed him with open arms, and he came out, and I thought he performed admirably last preseason. Played really well, had the most scoring drives of any quarterback last preseason, tied Ben Roethlisberger with 2 touchdowns on the whole preseason, though Ben did it in like 1 quarter, and Haskins did it in 4 games. But still, it's still more than what Rudolph had, more than what Dobbs had. I think they each had 1. But they were all able to get kicks at least for Boswell. Boswell was kicking a ton of balls that preseason, and show that he could get the ball downfield and get him into scoring drives and finish with scores. So, big important stuff. And it's just sad. It's sad to me that we have all of that lost potential. Yeah, and I'm with you, Michael Hall. Good to hear from you, my friend. Yeah, R.I.P. Dwayne. Guys, yeah, this is your vidcast. Your thoughts, your ideas, anything you can think of, just to get it off your chest about Dwayne. That's what we're here for. Kenny Beamer, love to hear from you, man. Always rock steady, Kenny. I can always bet on him being on the show. Thanks, Kenny. R.I.P., brother. Very well said, man. Very well said. I did get to write the article when he passed. I was kind of in work mode when I first started it, and as I was like researching him and getting more details, it really just started hitting me, and it was a really difficult article to write over at Steeler Nation. But it had to be written, obviously, and it was a guy that I thought the world of. I honestly thought he could be the starting quarterback. I thought he could be better than Trubisky. I thought he could be better than. I thought he was better than Rudolph. But, unfortunately, he doesn't get that chance to be able to go out and try. But let's at least go over the details that we have thus far on Dwayne, just to touch on the points. He died on Saturday morning, obviously, the age of 24, when he was hit by another vehicle in South Florida, as reported by Adam Schefter through his agent, Cedric Saunders. Haskins was in Florida to meet up with his new teammate, Mitchell Trubisky, who invited the whole team down, which I thought was a great idea, by the way. Several of their other teammates to get to practice work in. The teammates spent Friday working out, getting to know Trubisky, who was recently signed with the team. It's being reported that Haskins was traveling on I-595 on his way back to the airport to return to the Pittsburgh area when he was pulled over onto the side of the road. Haskins was outside of his car when a dump truck struck and killed him. So that is, obviously the initial things that we got from that. Yeah, Michael Hall, sad day for Steelers family. Definitely is. Like, I mean, it's not even a week yet. I mean, and this feels close to me. This, I'm not old enough to remember like when Ernie Stoutner died. I'm not really old enough to understand when was it Gabe Rivera, the guy that we drafted instead of Marino that year, when he died before even being able to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger getting in his motorcycle accident hit me pretty hard. But this, this has hit me harder than anything else, and especially since my brother lost his young wife in Thanksgiving, and you guys know I've been helping him out with that. So this is like another young person dying way before their time, all the potential in the world, their whole future ahead of them. So it's unfair. It's unfair. It hurts. And, I just don't know how to react to it, to tell you the truth. I'm not good at dealing with loss because I've been fortunate. Most of the people in my life are still in my life. Usually we lose people when they die in old age, when they're expected to pass. And then it's not as tragic. It's more of a life celebration. But this is tragic. This one is tragic. A very sad offseason for the Steelers in terms of quarterbacks. First, Big Ben retires. Now Haskins passes. Yeah, that's an excellent point too, Michael Hall. Really an excellent point. And it's something that we have to grieve that as Steeler fans as well. It's like we don't have Big Ben anymore. We know that this is a process. And now, since there's only 2 quarterbacks on the roster, where initially I didn't think the Steelers were going to utilize draft capital to get a quarterback, now I'm going switching the opposite way. I said there's no way the Steelers don't pick up a quarterback in the draft now. I don't know if it's going to be day 1 or day 2 or day 3, but there is no way the Steelers don't draft a quarterback now. Before I thought, they could wait till undrafted rookie free agency, maybe pull in a talented guy, maybe bring back like Rivers from freaking Slippery Rock from a few years ago, or was in the May tryouts last year with the rookie squad. Those are all potential people to bring in, but now, it's a numbers game. Steelers have 2 quarterbacks, and unless they're picking up another free agent, which I don't think they're going to do before the draft, that's where we're set. We're definitely not going to trade for a quarterback. We've got our quarterback now looks like it's going to be Trubisky. I think Trubisky's going to be the guy moving forward, and we'll have to hang our hats on that. But let's talk about Haskins, though. Haskins had all the potential in the world when he became like the 6th quarterback in FBS history to throw 50 touchdowns at the time. I know since Burrow has done it. To go along with his huge 4,831 yard season, which at the time was 15th all-time in FBS history when he was drafted. 70% completion percentage, extremely accurate. Haskins also showed off some mobility, adding 108 yards rushing, 4 more touchdowns on the ground as the leader of the Ohio State University football team. Haskins, of course, was drafted number 15 overall by the team now known as the Washington Commanders. I will also refer to them as the Washington Whatevers because they can change their name again as far as I'm concerned. He became a starter in week 9 of his rookie season. When he was drafted, it appeared that the organization was split on him becoming a franchise quarterback. Due to a contentious front office and headstrong coaching staff, Haskins played for 3 different head coaches in the first 2 seasons, and Haskins was ultimately released by the team, and a move that rarely occurs for a first-round quarterback on their rookie contract, which he left 2 years on his contract. The Steelers could have put a 5th-year option on Haskins this year, but they didn't. They could also put an original round tender or a first round tender. We did an original round tender, which is like $3 million less because his original round was the first round, and that's a way to bypass the first round tender. I don't know if they're going to try to work that out in the NFLPA. Might be because right now it's kind of a loophole that the Steelers did take advantage of because they essentially got a first round tender by paying an original round price, which is far less than a first or second round tender. NFLPA might be looking into that to try to keep it up higher for potential young players in case they're released before their contracts are up, just like what happened in this point. Steelers signed Haskins in the 2021 offseason to compete with Mason Rudolph and Josh Hobbs as a backup for Ben Roethlisberger. Haskins showed his athleticism in the preseason by leading all quarterbacks in scoring drives, and the team finished with a 3-1 record before the start of the regular season. His performance was impressive enough to earn him a spot on the roster as the 3rd quarterback. I know Dwayne Haskins or Josh Dobbs did get hurt, everyone, but he far and away passed Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs would have been cut if he wasn't hurt and put on IR. Haskins was active for only 1 game last year, serving as the backup in the tie game against the Detroit Lions during Rudolph's only start. And this season, the Steelers tendered Haskins to his original round restricted free agent tender that could have potentially netted a first-round draft pick if another team tried to sign him. Haskins was ready to compete with Trubisky and Rudolph for the starting quarterback position this season, as the front office and coaching staff mentioned multiple times that the job was still up for grabs regardless of signing Trubisky. So really, really, tough situation for everybody. Let's go back to you guys. I want to hear what you guys think on this. Michael Hall again. I'm the same age as Dwayne, and hearing that he passes at 24 makes me appreciate life a lot more and how we need to value every second, every minute, so on and so forth. Perfectly said. I mean, and I'm an old man, Michael Hall. I'm 47. I mean, I feel like I'm in my 20s. I still do dumb stuff. I still play hockey competitively against 20-year-olds that have never seen or heard of Dominic Hasek, so they don't know how to play me because I play exactly like Dominic Hasek. But yeah, nothing is more valuable than your health and your life. Nothing. And your time and the way you choose to spend it. Perfectly said, Michael Hall. Worst part about it is that he passed away about 4 weeks before his birthday. That is true. Yeah, he was about to turn 25. You're right, because a lot of people, when they first reported, they just did the quick math and saw that the difference in years was 25 years. But yes, he didn't hit at his birthday yet. I know Coach Tomlin also put out an incredible statement. I mean, and Coach Tomlin is a leader of men. Coach Tomlin is the guy that is the support system. He cares about you as much as it seems like as a father would care about you, because he cares about you as a person and a human being as well as a football player, almost like a college coach, almost the way the great college coaches that, like Joe Paterno, he wanted to create men and functioning members of society. Same thing with Coach Tomlin. And these are directly what Coach Tomlin had to say when he heard of the passing of Dwayne Haskins. I'm devastated and at a loss for words with the unfortunate passing of Dwayne Haskins. He quickly became part of our Steelers family upon his arrival in Pittsburgh and was one of our hardest workers, both on the field and in our community. Dwayne was a great teammate, but even more so, a tremendous friend to so many. I am truly heartbroken. Our thoughts and prayers are with his wife, Calabra, and his entire family during this difficult time. And that's tough words for a coach that has to, outlive a young, up-and-coming player who looked up to him as a father figure, as a mentor, to getting his life and his NFL life back on track, helping him mature, helping him become a young man. When he graduated a year early, he was a little immature, thrown into a tough situation, not making the most mature choices in Washington, though I will argue that Dan Snyder does not make mature choices either. And he's old enough to know better by now. But problem with billionaires is they don't give a shit. So, at least he was starting to mature in Pittsburgh. The only shade I ever heard thrown at him at Pittsburgh was Aditi Kinkhabwala saying he was looking at his cell phone or something during one of the pregame reps during the when he was the backup for Detroit Lions. And I'm like, that's probably the rep he's not taking. Cut the kid some slack. If he's ready to go out in the field, he'll go out in the field, he'll perform. And that's something that he did all preseason, and he did it very well this preseason. I really like the way, and I don't know if you guys remember too, like he came into the preseason not knowing much of the playbook, and he nearly ran the offense. Well, he ran the offense, the scoring. He scored more than Rudolph, so he ran the offense, at least the scoring offense, better than Mason Rudolph, but nearly as good as Mason Rudolph runs the total offense. And Mason had 3 years under his belt already at that time. Of course, he's going to know the offense. Haskins coming in as his first year, competes with him. Shows him, I'm here. I'm a good player. I can do this. Yeah, that's it. And guys, if you want to talk about other stuff, we don't have to stick on Haskins. Michael Hall, I really appreciate you, though, joining me on that time. But if you guys want to talk about draft, you guys want to talk about free agent pickups, too, I'm always here for that kind of stuff. You know that. That's always the what's going to go on these shows. And if you guys want to have any jokes or have any that want to pick me up to, I'm always down for that. Louis Riddick was another person that mentioned Dwayne Haskins specifically. He and I talked directly about Dwayne Haskins when I interviewed him back in the end of July. We were all super excited for him to have the ability to compete and play in the city of Pittsburgh. And he always saw Pittsburgh as being the perfect landing place for Dwayne Haskins, for him to mature and to actually become and live up to his potential of being an incredible football player. So, it's just another one of those unfortunate things. But this is what Louis Riddick had to say about Dwayne Haskins. From the first time I watched him play to the last time I recently spoke with him, I wanted Dwayne to experience infinite success. I wanted redemption for him. I wanted happiness for him. He deserved it all. He felt like family. I pray for his loved ones. Love you. And that's perfectly said, Louis. If you go over, if you want to check out over on YouTube, check out the podcast that we have. We interviewed Louis Riddick. I'm sure the timestamp mark is 17 and a half minutes is when we start talking about Dwayne Haskins. And it's a really good conversation, really fun to see how Louis Riddick really lit up in that conversation as well. So yeah, that's pretty much most of the stuff I have to talk about Dwayne Haskins. Over at the Nation, I know we had J.C. Hassenauer signed his exclusive rights free agent contract. We were all expecting him to do that. Another interior offensive lineman on the team. Another reason why I don't think the Steelers are going to draft any interior offensive linemen. We picked up 2 in free agency with Cole and Jenkins. And then, of course, we've got J.C. Hassenauer returning. We've got Green, who we drafted the year before. He can play guard and center as well. We now have 4 players that can legitimately play center. That's incredible. And that's what I want out of my interior offensive linemen. Them being able to play guard or center. Plus, we have Dotson, who's a guy who should be starting at guard. I don't know if he's going to be odd man out this year with as many people we picked up. It's going to come down to Dotson or Green, who's going to get squeezed out in that last spot. Because probably the 2 vets are going to get starting spots. They've been in this league a while. They know what they're doing. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes on with that. Looks like the services are now planned for Dwayne Haskins. His parents released a statement as well. This just released right now at SteelerNation.com. So I'm going to talk about what his parents just had to say. We have had such an overwhelming outpouring of love for our son since the news broke of our loss, says Tamara and Dwayne Haskins Sr., parents of Haskins. Anyone who knew Dwayne knows he worked exceptionally hard to achieve such a high level of success at such a young age. He was touched by so many people on his journey to being a standout athlete, and we are grateful to all of them. This pain is unimaginable, and we appreciate everyone who shares in our heartbreak. There's a full story, and also memorial plans are listed on the webpage here as well. It looks like he'll be memorialized on April 23rd, which is Saturday, from noon to 3 at Christ Church, his native church in Rockaway Township, New Jersey. Second service will be held in the following evening, Sunday evening, 7 p.m. at Bullis School in Potomac, Maryland, where Haskins attended high school. Potomac's not far from where I am, so I'll probably head down and check that out. Haskins' wife, Calabria Haskins, and the Steelers will have a funeral on April 22nd. The site and time are to be determined. His parents informed the team that they won't be making the trip to Pittsburgh for the service. So there's a couple services, a couple options going on this weekend. So the Steelers doing something, it looks like, on Friday. The parents doing something on Saturday, and then something coming back here on Monday, on Sunday. So 3 days to be able to celebrate number 3 and celebrate his life, remember him, mourn him, um, and move forward, move on, and give love and support to his family members. Uh, just absolute tragedy, really is. Um, Michael Hall, do you have any favorite moments about Dwayne that I know of? I'll tell you one personal favorite moment, and this comes from directly from our Steeler Nation staff and our leader, Justin McGonigal, who actually runs and owns SteelerNation.com. Great guy. His wife, Christy, we're all at the charity softball game last year, sponsored by Cam Hayward and his charity. It was what they were raising money for. And he was playing on one of the softball teams. He and Christy, Justin's wife, got to talking, and they really got into an in-depth, heart-to-heart conversation because Christy was going through some things. Haskins had really good advice in talking about the way he deals with things. So that's a real special moment. I really liked, at least for my memory of him, is watching him in the preseason and just being able to move. It seemed like when he was in charge of the offense moved with ease. When Rudolph was in charge of the offense moved with purpose, but it didn't necessarily move up and down the field easily. But when Haskins was in there, it seemed to move easily up and down the field. He was able to pick up the big plays, get to the edge, use his athleticism to continue to move the sticks and to get in scoring range and finish drives with the running back scoring touchdowns as well. But yeah, I just enjoyed the hell out of watching him, and I'm glad. Like, I'm a nut too. I don't know about you, Anthony. You got to ask Anthony, Michael Hall. You got to tell me if you're a nut about like watching preseason games that I am. I really love watching preseason games. A lot of people are like, oh, well, no starters playing in preseason games. It's like, these are the starters of tomorrow. And the guys that flash in preseason usually end up becoming good starters. I remember Joey Porter when he was young, watching him flash in preseason 2 years in a row. Same thing with Harrison. He flashed for like 3 years in preseason. That guy was a lot of fun to watch in preseason as well before he became a starter. And I knew full well, even though we lost Joey Porter, I was like, it's time. I was excited for Harrison to start at that point. And that's, every once in a while you see some of these young kids like DJ, when he came out as a rookie in the preseason, he could play. You could tell he could play right away. Same thing with Chase. Najee as well. I mean, we have some really, really fun young players that we were able to watch and see make explosive moves in the preseason. And, that's the most fun to me to be able to watch and check out. Michael Hall, any updates on Stephon yet? Still not yet. I guess everybody's still optimistic. It's still a little tight-lipped because we're getting mixed signals at times. I knew he was in Pittsburgh when I reported it, I think about 3 weeks ago. So he's meeting with the team. He's in Pittsburgh. He's not avoiding Pittsburgh for any reason. We just haven't gotten the real reason why he's out or why he's still choosing to be out. I mean, I don't think we're really going to know the answer to these questions until voluntary mini camps. And that's when teammates start showing up. But this year for voluntary minicamp, guys like Hayward are going to be there. And he's going to want a lot of the defense to be there at voluntary minicamp. And he's going to put a lot of pressure on a lot of guys to make sure they are there for voluntary minicamp. Same thing with Watt. He may do that as well. But offensively, a lot of the guys have to be to voluntary minicamp because we have so many new guys, all the new offensive linemen, new quarterback. These guys have to get as many reps as possible, in my opinion. It would behoove all of them to be at offensive minicamp, and especially since Tuitt missed the year, I'd expect him to be there too, Michael Hall. Really would, Mike. I mean, I think he should be there just to show, yeah, I want to play again. Not just to us, like fans want to know. We definitely, it's a big deal for us, but I think that would mean more to his teammates. It would mean more to Hayward. It would mean more to Fitzpatrick. It would mean more to Watt if he shows up and say, I'm ready to roll this year. Because that's what this team needs. And maybe something tragic like this might be a reason he comes back. He had to deal with the loss of his brother. Now the whole team has to deal with the loss of Haskins. And even Tuitt has to deal with that to an extent. I mean, though I guess Tuitt never technically played with Haskins because he wasn't on the team. The death of his brother happened in the preseason. He didn't play in preseason, didn't show up. So I think he was probably limited in his interactions with Haskins. So, but still, to help the team grieve might be a reason for him to be there. They can grieve together. He can grieve about his brother. The rest of the team can grieve about their lost brother. It's tragic no matter how you slice it. 2 young people, 2 young lives being cut short with so much more life to live, both being tragic car accidents, both of them. Yeah, it's just heart-wrenching. Michael Hall. Yeah, I watch the Steelers preseason games. It gets me excited on who's making the 53-man roster and see what they have to offer in the black and gold. Yeah, man. And that was it. And that's why, like, I was excited about Jameer Jones. Like, watching him in the preseason, first game, they've had him with the fourth stringers, the fourth quarter, made a sack. Second game, move him up. We'll put him up with the third stringer, sack. Third game, playing with the second stringers, sack. Fourth game, first stringers, sack. The guy was just like, you couldn't stop Jones. And I was like, that's the reason why they kept Jones over Roche. But then for some reason, when the season started, he couldn't play. He couldn't stick on the roster. The Steelers looked to replace him almost immediately since they weren't able to hang on to Roche. He got poached by the Giants and is doing well over there. More power to him. Shows how good we draft. Every single player we drafted last 2 years were on a team last year. That's not something most teams can say. It's not. We only lost 2 of them. One of them was Antoine Brooks, the money backer, strong safety. He was with the Rams. He won a Super Bowl with the Rams this year. I don't know if he was rostered for the Super Bowl. I'll have to look that up. But he was definitely on the practice squad. So he gets a Super Bowl ring. So kudos to him. And then, of course, Roche being the only other person that's not still on our team. We have a young team. Got a lot of draft picks on our team. A lot of draft picks playing on our team. And I expect a lot more draft picks this year. Wide receivers. We still only have 3 wide receivers. Gunner, I guess, is technically a wide receiver. We've got, we got Miller, too, behind us. Sims. We got some players. We got some players with starting NFL experience on this roster. So, yeah, no, I can't poo-poo this roster as much as I could, but this is the talent of wide receiver in this draft is something I am super excited about, Michael. And I want to really see them pick up 1, maybe 2 more wide receivers in this draft. If we don't get Hamilton is now my number 1 hope. Fills that strong safety position. Super athletic guy. Might be a guy the Steelers would honestly consider trading up to get. Might be. And that would be something I'd love to see. I'd absolutely love to see that. Miles, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you again. When I saw the news, I was so shocked and immediately sent my best wishes out to the Twitter space. But Adam Schefter, or however you spell it, was just like, why? Yeah. The way he broke the news, he's now learning that you have to report on the man and not report on the football player. And to his defense, not that I have to defend Adam Schefter, I don't. He can defend himself. He's a big boy. And I'm not defending him. But we were on Twitter Spaces last night. Brandon Wall, who was our editor, eloquently stated that Schefter did put out an apology. It took him a few days to come out with a real formal apology, but it seemed heartfelt. And Schefty's been taking some lumps, especially for this. But he's been taking lumps just for the way he's breaking news. Trying to be the first, doesn't always make the right move. Some issues there with Brady as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation to sprinkle in a negative when someone dies. The last thing you need to know about is that he struggled with something or as a football player, which, I wouldn't say he struggled as a football player as much as he struggled in Washington, which is a struggle for any player. Washington is a poop hole. There's no sugarcoating how terrible Washington is. Really. The fact that they even win games, that they even won a division is amazing to me. Like 2 years ago. Because their front office is just not conducive. It's the complete opposite of the Pittsburgh front office. Pittsburgh front office, family oriented, cares about you and your family, wants to make sure that you are as good as a human being as you are a football player. That is important to the Steelers. Washington, they don't give a crap. As long as you play on the field, go ahead. You go to strip clubs, that's fine. We don't care. Yeah, you miss team meetings, who cares? You're balling out on the field, that's good. That doesn't happen in Pittsburgh. Miss a team meeting, you're missing a game. Have you seen the most recent money embezzlement scam? No. You'll have to tell me about that one, Miles. What's going on with that? Are you setting me up for a joke? I'm looking forward to it if that's the case. Michael Hall. I've never missed a Notre Dame game, and I always love watching Hamilton. He was an outright beast and a savage. So I hope Pittsburgh does get him. Keep that gold color trend going. I know. We don't have too many Golden Domers on the team to it. I know we have him on the team. I can't remember any other Golden Domers, but my brother was really excited. He's a big Notre Dame fan as well. Roman Catholic growing up, Irish Roman Catholic. So that side of the family is all Golden Domers, and I'm a Penn State fan with my dad, who's more the Methodist side, I guess. Non-practicing, I suppose. But yeah, the guy just has hints of Polamalu. I'm not saying he's Polamalu by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely a playmaking safety. Definitely like this guy was a top 5 lock going into all of the metrics. Top 5 lock. No, he ran a little slower at one of the pro days or something, or combine. That kind of ticked him back a little bit. But the guy can play. You just look at his film. Just like Michael Hall's saying, look at his film. Unmistakable. He's my number 1 now. My number 1. No quarterback. I'd rather have him over any quarterback in this draft. I'd rather have him over Davis. I'd rather have him over any wide receiver in this draft. Yeah, he would be my absolute number 1 pick. I think he would be the best, biggest playmaker, and would really fit in nicely next to Fitzpatrick, giving him a playmaker next to him, as opposed to just giving him a guy next to him that he also has to help out every once in a while, because that guy doesn't always know where to be. Edmonds. Don't come back. Nick D. What's going on, Nick? Do you think wide receiver should be a top priority with this class this year, and the expectation that 2019 receiver class will inflate the market? Yeah, this entire draft is like 2 drafts in one now, because you had a lot of people that took that off year in 2020, had an extra year of eligibility, and now it is the time for them to start being drafted when they would have been drafted last year under normal circumstances. So we've got our people that are normally in school for the normal amount of times, paired with the people that took the year off, are all coming in this year's draft. None of them are quarterbacks, like great quarterbacks, but we got a lot of good quarterbacks. We got a lot of potential quarterbacks. I think we've got a lot of exciting quarterbacks that can develop. I don't think any of them are a day 1 starter. Not a single. I think Willis gives you your best chance out of the box to be able to make plays day 1, but I don't think any of them are a day 1 starter. I think all of them, if they sit for a year or 2, can be great NFL quarterbacks. Elite, who knows? Potentially, but great NFL quarterbacks. That would be interesting to see how they develop in the right situations with the right teams, because it all comes down to their skill set and how they're used. Because if Baltimore draft a pocket passer with their rushing attack and all their wide receivers and running backs, all their tight ends and running backs, they would not have been as successful as when they got Lamar Jackson, who earned an MVP in his second year because that was the offense that was built around him. Smart to do that. Build your offense around your quarterbacks. If we did that with Cordell Stewart, we might have won a Super Bowl with him. Honestly, might have. That would have been something else to watch that. Nick D, trading up for Kyle Hamilton makes too much sense at this point. I'm with you, man. He drops out of the top 10. The Steelers should be on the phone with everybody to find that guy. Because I don't think we're going to go back to 10. A little bit too much draft capital to do that. But especially when we need to rebuild. But yeah, if we got to move up 5 spots, 6 spots, that's a lot more doable than moving up 10 into the top 10. Miles, do you think DJ should be traded if he's asking for an absurd amount of money? It seems like he's looking to get paid. Would it be worth the draft capital? So for me, we got to figure out DJ's market. And I remember back in the preseason, Miles, when DJ's like, 16 million. I want 16 million. Like now, just earlier on this year, before all these other quarterbacks got these ridiculous contracts. And I said at that moment, sign him. Sign him. That will be a deal. It'll be like when we signed AB to his first contract after his rookie contract, the one that we did not give to Wallace. Steal. And I said that at the time too, because the guy can catch copious amounts of football, runs better routes than anybody else in the NFL. He just gets open. And if he's still working on his hands, guys, but this is year 4. Year 4 is when the X receiver explodes production-wise in the Steelers offense. Every X receiver that's ever existed. Santonio Holmes. Yancey Thigpen. Well, not Yancey because he was a free agent. That one doesn't count as much. But Ward, Stallworth. Those are the guys that come up through the system, were drafted. Year 4, they explode. And they start putting up incredible, incredible numbers in year 4. That's why he was the monster for us in the Super Bowl, which was his 4th year, I believe, because he was drafted in 06. Because we had to move up to get him because we were drafting last after winning the Super Bowl, I think, from that season. So interesting stuff on that respect. Brian Brown, G.Stryker, good to hear from you. Brian, good to see you, my friend. Whatever questions, comments you got, please add to the show. We're always happy to hear from you, man. Nick D, I've been seeing Jags are high on Travian Walker. Do you think that happens at number 1? Then when there's a higher chance that Hamilton happens? Yeah, for some reason, I don't think that the Jags are looking at strong safety at 1. Usually that goes offensive tackle, defensive line. That's normal unless you get like a stud corner, stud linebacker. You don't draft running backs at number 1 anymore. There's no stud quarterbacks to draft at number 1. So, yeah, those are your options. Those are your options. And Miles, I think I only half answered your question. I'm going back to it here for a second. You asked me if they should trade him. No, like I said 16 would be a steal to sign him. 16 to 18, I think, is the range. If he just said he wants 18. I still think 18 is a freaking steal. And I'd sign him to 18 million a year for 5 years. I would. I really would. Because I think he's that good. I really do. Nobody can. He's unblockable at the line of scrimmage. You can't press cover the guy at all. If you come up and press cover him, he's wide open. And most of the time, you're not even going to touch him. Think about that. You're coming up to press a guy at the line of scrimmage and you can't even touch him. Or if you do, it's a swim or a spin or a hitch or a stutter step or an inside out. The guy has so many damn moves at the line of scrimmage, and he had them in college. That was what I loved about him the most in college, was how good he was getting off of press coverage at the line of scrimmage. That was just off the charts for me. I'm just like, wow, this guy is smart. He's athletic. He's quick. And nobody can keep up with him. And now even in the pros, they still can't keep up with his moves. Still off of his first breaks, and he's still getting better every year. Sign him. It's going to seem like a steal for a guy like this to be making 16 to 18 mil a season when all these other wide receivers are getting like 23 to 28s now. Insane. getting quarterback money. Play wide receiver. That's insane. No way do I pay that. Honestly, no way do I pay that. And I know the Steelers draft quarterbacks well, guys, but here's my question to you. Did we draft quarterbacks well because we're just so good at scouting quarterbacks and bringing them in? Or was the common denominator for all these wide receivers, was common denominator for all these excellent wide receivers that we drafted Ben Roethlisberger? Being able to get them the football, being able to utilize these young receivers and their talents to the best of their ability. That's something that cannot be taken for granted. Because really the only receiver that did really well after Ben Roethlisberger was Emmanuel Sanders. And he went to go play for another Hall of Fame quarterback in Manning. Heck, Brady and them wanted him. They tried to get him on his restricted free agent tender the 1 year, but Steelers matched it. They're like, yep, no, we're going to keep him. Thanks for setting our contract. We'll keep him. Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But he was that good too. That was a hell of a draft. That was a hell of a draft. Got Sanders and AB in that same draft. Two excellent receivers. Excellent route runners. Great hands. Man, I wish we had them playing together for longer. That would have been really a mismatch in the NFL. Really, really a mismatch. Nick D, I mean the ripple effect if Jags take Trayvon Walker at number 1 rather than Thibodeau or Hutchinson. Well, yeah, I mean, and that's the problem with the draft. There's so many variables, so many moving parts, Nick. You hit the nail on the head, man. There's a ripple effect on anybody. If they go crazy and somebody takes that number 1 spot just so they can get a quarterback, that sends ripple effects down. I mean, what I'm hoping is that 3 quarterbacks come off the board in the top 12, because that means somebody's dropping. That means Hamilton might be there for the Steelers to move up and grab. That would be it. That would be it. How high do I think the Steelers will have to trade up for Hamilton? To get him somewhere in the 10 to 12 range, Brian. I really think that's where we go. Maybe to 14 he could slide to, depending on how the quarterbacks are coming off the board. Eagles with a lot of picks. I think they traded one of them. But the Eagles are the toughest one because that is a team that knows strong safeties. Dawkins, probably my favorite non-Steeler ever. Watching Dawkins play strong safety for that team and all those great defenses for Jim Johnson and Reed, Coach Reed, Andy Reid. And that was a big reason also why they made 4 NFC championship games. Not just Donovan McNabb, but that suffocating defense. Incredible defense led by Dawkins. Oh, man, I loved watching him play. Hit like a freight train. Could come up and sack, tackles for losses, intercepted you down the field, made you look foolish no matter what you tried. Could defend running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers out of the backfield. Man, guy was something else. I mean, there's a reason why he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, he was that good. He was that freaking good. But that's what I'd fear is a team with a lot of picks like the Eagles in front of us. They'd use a pick on Hamilton. There's no way he'd get past the Eagles. None. Brian Brown, Big Ben has a lot to do with it, right? Right? Yeah, that's what I'm starting to think. Miles Pressgraves again, my friend. I just want to see Connor Hayward play on the same team as his brother. I want all the brothers. That's the only thing. It's like, if we get Connor Hayward on the team, it means we got to get rid of another brother. We got to get rid of DJ Watt, man, because they both play fullback. They're both special teams aces. That's what'll happen. If the Steelers end up drafting Connor on day 3, it's not going to be 1 or 2. You don't draft fullbacks on the first or second day. You just don't. Especially when we only use them, 4 or 5 times a year? Come on, Canada. More than 4 or 5 times a year, please. But 6th, 7th, 8th round. 6th is probably the highest you're ever going to draft. We got 2 7th round picks. If he's there, he's a Steeler. If he's there, he's a Steeler. I think that could be a chance. But that'd be interesting to see. It's just that it's going to come down to him or Derek Watt for that fullback spot, and that would be a tough competition with two highly competitive family members going at it. Really would be. Michael Hall, is it true that singer Bret Michaels really wants Steelers to draft quarterback Matt Corral? Yeah, that is true. Yeah, Steelers, we just put an article out on that at SteelerNation.com if you want to go over and read that. Really an interesting thing, and it's something that he's talked about. I think he was interviewed on Rich Eisen, I believe, and talked about it there, about how he's just been always following Matt's career. Says there's no one more competitive than this guy, has the heart of a lion. Really, really interesting points. And, other than, destroying his knee in his bowl game, which was unfortunate, that to me, like, I think he could have been top 10. Now you got to think, is he even going to be a first rounder? But that's somebody you might target in the second round. Pick 20 in the second round. He might be there. Pickett might be there. I have no idea how this draft's going to go with him. The quarterbacks are all over the place. Some people have a first round draft grade on Willis. Some people have a third round draft grade on him. I mean, you don't know where anybody's going to go this year quarterback wise, because it all comes down to what teams want in a quarterback, where we want a mobile quarterback. We want a mobile quarterback. I don't know if Kenny Pickett's going to fit. I like him. I think Corral can fit better. I think Ritter can fit better. Definitely Willis can fit as a mobile quarterback. These guys are all mobile. Howell, not so much. Pickett, not so much. But Howell does have a little bit more mobility than Pickett. But all I want to see out of my mobility for a quarterback, guys, all I want to see is the ability to go for it on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 on a quarterback freaking snake. Shit, what do we run, like 2 during Ben's last 10 years? Holy crap. Boy, were we easy to defend in short yardage. That stuff peeved me off to no end. Absolutely peeved me off to no end. Miles, right now, I'm going to cry myself to sleep. I'm sorry, man. Please don't. Not on my account. Brian Brown, do you think the tragedy over the weekend will affect the Steelers' decision to draft a quarterback or not? Yeah, rip Dwayne Haskins. Yes, I talked about that at the top of the show too, Brian. Yeah, I said I fully thought the Steelers were not even going to draft a quarterback because they had 3 on the roster. I thought they were doing their due diligence. Maybe if somebody's there in another round other than the first, that's why they're doing this due diligence. See who they like. But yeah, I was like, no way are they going to draft a quarterback. I didn't think they're going to do it the entire draft. But now, with only 2 quarterbacks on the roster, you can bank that the Steelers are going to draft a quarterback. Might be day 1 now, might be day 2. So, whereas we would have used those positions for maybe strong safety, maybe cornerback, maybe definitely wide receiver. We're still going to take a wide receiver in the first 3 picks. I will bank on that. Steelers will have a new wide receiver in their first 3 picks. Bet it. Bet the line on that in Vegas. You're going to make money on that one. But yeah, they're definitely going to draft a quarterback. It'll just be like, is their number 1 guy going to be there in the first round, or somebody that they're worth taking, or is there somebody else on the roster that they think might be a better fit? Is Davis going to be there? I'd rather have Davis than a quarterback, even though Davis isn't even going to start. I don't think the quarterback's going to start either. It's going to sit on the bench for a year until we get rid of Rudolph. And then he'll either back up Trubisky another year or come in and play. That's the way it goes. Michael Hall, Derek Watt, TJ Watt, JJ Watt, Connor Hayward, Cameron Hayward, Tremaine Edmonds, Terrell Edmonds, Trey Edmonds, all the Pittsburgh Steelers. If I can just avoid Terrell Edmonds, then I'd be down with all. We got the wrong Edmonds brothers. We got the right Watt brother. Freaking love him. And honestly, if we cannot get to it back, I would love to have JJ playing opposite of Hayward. I think that would just be awesome. Have JJ and TJ lined up right on the same side, rushing the quarterback. Oh, man. I'll meet you at the quarterback, bro. Boom. Like, look out. Look, would you like to be a right guard or a right tackle in the AFC North if J.J. Watt and T.J. Watt were playing on your right? No way! No freaking way! Jeez, that would be absolutely awesome. Triple family reunion. That's what I want. I want all three. If I had to pick all three brothers, I'd rather have all three Watt brothers over all three Edmonds brothers any day of the week. Twice on Sunday. 3 times on Sunday because I won all 3 of them. See what I did that? Yeah, I'm starting to have some fun. Thanks, guys. Thanks for picking me up, picking up my spirits here by the end of the show. That's why I love you, Steeler Nation, man. You never cease to amaze me. I'm in a much better headspace right now than I was at the beginning of the show, and thank you for that. I really do. I mean, that's what we do. We celebrate life. We get through stuff together. We talk about what we love, and what we love is the Pittsburgh Steelers, guys. We're all Steelers fanatics. That's why you guys come to listen to me for an hour. You're a Steelers fanatic if you're listening to me for an hour. There's no two ways about it. Brian Brown, what if Rudolph wins the job? I haven't ruled him out yet. I'd be fine with it. May the best man win the job. I don't think he's as mobile as Trubisky, and I think that's the only leg up, pun intended, that Trubisky has on Rudolph, the Red Arms quarterback, would be, yes, he's more mobile. We want to move to a more diverse offense, RPOs. That's what Canada does. We could not run that. We ran the Ben offense. We saw the Ben offense 2 years in a row, and that was the old Ben offense. Line of scrimmage, down the sideline, nothing down the middle of the field. And that was only from week 10 on both seasons. Earlier in the seasons, he was able to throw. He got banged up too much. He got sacked like a ton this past year. Year before, he barely got sacked. This past year, it was like his rookie seasons again. He was getting sacked a ton. And he's still getting the ball out in 2 seconds. Dude took some lumps. And there's a reason why he retired. Godspeed, Ben. Godspeed. Enjoy your retirement. Michael Hall, JJ and TJ on defense. Sorry, NFL. Right. And then having people like Hayward there too. Having people like Fitzy behind you. Gosh, man. I would love that. I mean, we're starting to talk about like all-time talented Steelers defenses. Like when we had all the great linebackers playing, Harrison and Ferrier and Polamalu and Ike and Hampton on the line of scrimmage and freaking Aaron Smith. Jeez. It's like, that was a great freaking defense. The Lloyd and Green years. Who was that? Joel Steed, our nose tackle back then, I think. Remember our secondary. It was Rod Woodson was our second. That was a crazy time, too. Rod Woodson, Woodruff, Everett. Man, we had some really good players. And that's even before it's not even mentioned the 70s teams yet. And those 70s teams. Players all over the place. Whole front seven. Might be the scariest assembled front seven in NFL history. With the steel curtain, the front four. What was that? Holmes and Ernie Holmes and Green and Greenwood. Jeez. Elsie Greenwood. Mean Joe Green. I'm missing the other guy. Mills. Yeah. Yep. And then, of course, like Ham and freaking Lambert. Gosh, you had Russell playing a couple years. And then you had a secondary that was still insane. Blunt, Shell. Gosh. I mean, Hall of Famers everywhere on that team. Absolutely insane. Absolutely. We want to get back to that. Get a whole team of Hall of Famers on defense. Screw the offense. We'll figure out a way to win. Miles, Brian, you stuffed that idea down the depths where it came from. Very nice. Very nice. Giving people, I love the interactions here, guys. Brian, or is it the complete competition in training camp just a bit that's pre-decided? Yeah, I'd have to think. It's like we're going to start watching. They might start off training camp giving Rudolph first team reps. And then the next day, Trubisky gets first team reps, and just go back and forth. And that's the fair way to do a quarterback competition. If they would have had Dwayne Haskins, I would have expected a 3-day rotation like that. Each one taken, they just rotate down every time. First to second to third, first to second to third. Essentially, being the third is being a day off. You don't do as many reps when you're third string. Fourth string, you barely get any reps. But first top 3 actually get decent amount of reps in training camp. And those guys would have been able to really weed out pretty quickly by the second week. Okay, who's the 2 it's come down to now? And have those 2 guys go at it. First and second, first and second, first and second. Other guy's going to be third. And then by the time you hit preseason, if you haven't made your decision by the second week of preseason, you got to make your decision by second game, because now there's only 3 preseason games. So second game of preseason is pretty much when you're going to have your starter in there as the starter. Maybe the first game you're still trying to feel it out, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. Michael Hall, TJ and JJ on our defense, like it's Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, Deadly Nightmares, 101 Rudy Avenue. Very nicely put. Oh, what was that? Wes Craven that did those? Oh, geez. If I'm thinking about it, it's Wes something. That's awesome. I love those old movies. Miles, do you think Devin Bush will have a comeback year this year? His injury was rough, and last year he didn't perform like he used to for obvious reasons. Yeah. I think the biggest reason is going to be who's playing in front of him, Miles. If we have Alu playing at a high level, we have another draft pick coming in that can play. If Montravius Adams can play well in that nose tackle spot, eating up people, as well as Tuitt getting back, that frees up the interior linebackers. When you have studs on your defensive line in a 3-4, our interior offensive linemen, our interior linebackers feast. And still Schobert. We got rid of Schobert. He was our leading tackler last year. He had over 100 tackles. Quietly had over 100 tackles. Still got rid of him. That was insane. Something to think about. Michael Hall, listen to this defense. TJ, JJ, Cameron, Mika, possibly. Yeah, now you're speaking my language. Rip to another NFL teams on our list. And that's what I was thinking. Doesn't matter who your corners are if you have 2 stud safeties, because you can move them around. You can help out your corners. You can even go off coverage, blitz the corner. Oh, I got a wide open receiver. But, oh, shit, why is it going back the other way? Because the safety jumped the route, waiting for the throw, took it to the house. That's something that Fitzy and, Honey Badger and the Mink, both of those animals in the secondary would be able to pull that off. That would be just insane to watch. And sometimes, you want your corner. I like cornerback blitzes. I mean, we got to wait for it there for a bit. But it's nice to see it starting to come back a little bit. I know with Hayden, really, he didn't have the ability to get in on the corner. We definitely could do it with the slot corner. I mean, geez. Oh, was Hilton awesome at that. Hilton's one of my all-time favorite defenders. Unappreciated. Mike Hilton was one of my all-time favorite defenders. And he was the best at jumping the line of scrimmage and getting in the backfield. Awesome at it. And he was a big guy. And splitting double teams on wide receiver bubble screens. Guy could write a book on it. He could teach a master class on it. Dude, he saved us so much extra yardage. You don't realize how good of a player he was. We would have still looked like a decent running team if we still had him on our team last year healthy. That's how good he was at tackling and playing in the line of scrimmage. I wish Edmonds could play the line of scrimmage half as good as Hilton. Half as good. Then I might even like Edmonds. I might want him back. Miles, I'm seeing that Miles Jack is going under the radar a lot. As a fellow Miles, I think he will be an absolute stud for us. It's nice to see some Miles representation on the Steelers. He will do me proud. That was a great point, Miles. Miles to Miles connection. Miles of road in between the two of you, probably for where you live, but I love puns. So that's the way I chose to take it. And I would take 1,000 miles. And I would take 1,000 more just to see a Miles that could tackle 100 players to knock them down onto the floor. And I think that's probably where I'm going to end my podcast for the day on my Proclaimers reference, as poorly as I place that. Guys, last chance. I'm going to finish with you guys. I'm going to start my readouts here for the final goodbyes and sign-offs. But as always, you guys get last word. Please come over to SteelerNation.com, read our awesome articles. Guys, it's thanks to you that we're blowing up as much as we are. And thank you so much to all of our great writers, analysts, draft gurus. We are just a great location for all of your Steeler information over there. And then if you want to talk like you're doing here on the show, make sure you sign up for the forum, guys. It's free. It's fun. I posted Stryker. I ask the questions for the podcast. I have a thread up there right now. So if you jump on, join, you can ask a question for the podcast, which I am going to air on Friday on DKPittsburghSports.com. Make sure you check out us on Twitter. Tweet us at Steeler Nation. Instagram us at SteelerNation.com. Follow the podcast on Twitter at _SN Podcast, or on Instagram, Steeler Nation Podcast, or follow me, your host, Stryker, Steeler Nation Stryker, on Twitter, on Instagram, at SN Stryker. So going back to you guys for final words. Here we go. Making sure I got all the. Here we go. Brian Brown's got one. That's what I'm hoping for. An elite, stingy defense that allows 3 to 9 points a game. That is Steeler football, and I love watching low-scoring games, especially when you're defensively dominant. Awesome to watch. And Michael Hall, thanks for the great show as always. See you in the next one. And you're gonna be chatting out with me. So thank you all, Steeler Nation, for joining us on the Steeler Nation Vidcast, sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises, part of the Big Play Vidcast Network. I am your host, G.Stryker, rooting along with Michael Hall, as always. Go Steelers!